Hey guys, my name is Alon and I'm one of the facilitators. And this part, so you just finished reading about the purpose of circles. And so now we're going to talk about the components and the norms of the circle. One of the first components and a very important part of it is making sure that you and your group or whoever you're facilitating the circle for are sitting in a circle. Not an oval, not a square, not just making any type of shape, because there is power in making it a complete circle. Sitting as a circles have been proven from years back that it's a structured form of bringing people together. It's one of the most common forms of restorative practices. The circle represents equity, it represents community, it represents everyone kind of sitting at the same height around each other. And the circle is a shape that's continuous and not broken. Just like if you ever been to a wedding and they talk about the rings and how the rings represent a symbol of there's no beginning, there's no ending, infinity. It's just one symbol of being together forever. And that's kind of how the community circle that you're building is represented. We know circles, the shape of a circle is continuous and it's unbroken. And so the act of sitting in a circle alone, it doesn't make it restorative, but in restorative circles, community members can work together and you can create a safe space, a safe environment for you and your students or community members or community helpers who are going to be a part of your circle. It helps you be able to have more authentic dialogue. And so the circle just represents so much more. The second component of a circle is the circle keeper. The circle keeper emphasizes equity in the group. They make sure that everyone is speaking in a respectful tone. They keep the flow moving so that, we don't get stuck, that everything is flowing. And you'll kind of see when we actually talk about the different circles, how this works. They make sure that they address the concerns, and they introduce the prompts or the issues that will be discussed during this whatever particular circle it is that you are having that day. They hold the community accountable for their actions, making sure that everybody is being respectful, not talking in a disrespectful manner, and not disrespecting anyone. Making sure that every participant feels safe in the circle and that they're actually feel safe enough to be honest and open about whatever it is that they're talking about when in the circle. The circle keeper monitors the circle collectively, not really controlling. The circle keeper should not control it and sway the conversations to go in a manner where they think it should go. But they're just basically monitoring the quality of the group and making sure that everything is flowing in the way that it should without controlling the situation, which I know as teachers is hard because I know when I was in the classroom, it was difficult to allow the kids to have choice, but so allowing them to be themselves, allowing them to have choice, but making sure that whatever the content is or whatever it is that we're learning, that they're actually learning what they need to and that they're focused. So I know teachers, we kind of have control issues. And so when you're in a circle, it's kind of releasing that control and letting the group flow naturally and not really controlling the situation. That definitely will help it have a better outcome. And so those are just some of the minor roles of the circle keeper. All right, component number keeps popping up. Sorry. Component number 3 is the talking piece. The talking piece is very, very, very important. This is the object that people will use whose turn it is to talk. So with the talking piece, which I'll go ahead because you keep seeing the horns pop up. So I'll use this as an example of a talking piece. There's a longhorn. You could say it's your school mascot. I do have a hawk, but it's not with me. It's at work and I'm at home. Social distancing. So most of the time people say use something soft, I guess, to bring comfort as they pass it around or as they're talking or pouring out their feelings. With the talking piece, only the person with the talking piece can talk. Everybody else should be actively listening, deep listening to whatever is that person is talking about, so that they can understand, not listening to be able to rebuttal. You cannot interject. You can't talk out of turn. We respect the talking piece, and only the person holding the talking piece will be allowed to talk. And this kind of gives them a safe space to be able to pour out their heart with knowing that no one is going to interject and no one is going to talk. It's very meaningful if the talking piece has some type of important value to the facilitator or to the community group. So try not to just get something random as your talking piece for whatever circle you're holding. Make sure that it has some type of meaning to the group or to the facilitator. When someone is holding the talking piece, it's very important that you stress when you're teaching your kids or staff members that is something that you should respect. Something important about the talking piece is restorative practices are not forced on people. So if a person chooses to pass the talking piece and they don't want to talk, we don't want to force them to talk. So it's okay if some people pass a talking piece, and hopefully they'll become more comfortable in talking, or that's something that you can talk to them about after the circle on the side if they continue to pass it along throughout the entire circle. So that is the talking piece. The fourth component of our circle is the centerpiece. The centerpiece should be in the center of your circle. Your center of your circle shouldn't have any furniture, should be clear of all things, but we know sometimes in classrooms that can be difficult. So if possible, try to push desk aside so that you all are able to actually form a circle, which was our first component. And in the center is the centerpiece. And the centerpiece represents the center of a community. It's a collective nature and provides a place for the participants to have a focal point on some type of shared value. The centerpiece can have things like the talking piece. It's more meaningful when it represents something of value to the actual community. And so there are several different things that you could put in the centerpiece. And I have a few here with me. So let's say we had a circle with some students or some community members who are struggling with COVID, because we know that is a hot topic in the community. Not really a hot topic. It's something we're actually going through right now. And so, the centerpiece could be something as a mask. I'm gonna put my mask. I'm gonna put it on. Why I'm putting it on, I don't know. It's just so cute. But in the middle of our circle, we can have a mask. We can have some, what do you think? Lysol. We can have some Germex. And we can have some wipes. We can even have some books about how to cope with anxiety. It's just a whole array of different things that we could talk about in this circle, so we can put those different items that we do have that are tangible and that you can actually hold and put those in the center of the circle. And so that could represent the centerpiece, just a focal point for them to focus on as we go through whatever this circle is that we're talking about in terms of COVID-19, coping with anxiety, just your thoughts, your feelings. So if that's what the circle is centered around, those are some items that you can have. If you're doing a PLC and you're having a circle with your group in your social studies, what are some items that you can bring to the social studies circle? Hopefully you said, because I know I can't hear your thoughts, something like a globe or maps or anything that has relevance to your group. If it's a math group, we could put pencils, sharpeners, protractors, compasses, reference materials, books about math, any type of manipulative. So there are many different things that you can put as your centerpiece of your circle that you all can be a focal point of what you all are going to discuss. Here's a disclaimer. I am a proud Harvey Hawk, but I just started at Harvey, so I don't have a lot of different things at Harvey. Well, this is my second year, so I guess I need to invest in more things. But let's say, and I was at Nolan Ryan for about 10 years, 11 years. So that's why I have a lot of different things. So if you're having a staff circle at your school, you can have different things. Like I have this Longhorn hat, or I have an actual Longhorn, or a Longhorn t-shirt, which I won't show you because I won't go over Longhorn. But if you're at Nolan Ryan, like you could use these different pieces in the center of your circle when you're having a circle, and at the beginning of the year or during PLC or something. So you want to have something that means something to your community, and those can be the different centerpieces. So those are just some ideas of things that you can use as a centerpiece, a mascot of any nature. So that is component number 4. On your screen now, you're going to see just a few pictures of a circle that we use at the restorative practice training. And if you look down or look at this up, not at the screen, not down, at the picture, you'll see like the outer part of the circle has the different values. In the middle of the circle, she had hundreds of books about restorative justice, restorative practices, circle processes, all those different things. That's the centerpiece for this circle because we were actually talking about restorative practices. And in the main center, so there's like an outer layer, there's books everywhere. And then in the middle, you'll see the heart, which was her actual talking piece, which we talked about in component 3, the talking piece. You'll see some conversation cubes, which are a great item you can buy online on Amazon. Conversational pieces, these are really good when helping starting a circle. You'll see a little doll where she talked about how that had meaning to the circle. So this is just showing you another way of actually setting up the centerpiece so that you all can have a focal point as you go through your circle. And so those are just some pictures of an actual circle that I participated in. One article that I read when I was doing research a while back was there was a group of construction workers that were having a lot of tension at work, arguing all the time. And we know that if you're building something like that, it's teamwork. Otherwise, the structure can crash. And so the boss called a restorative circle with them. And they actually used a hard hat because in their community of construction workers, the hard hat is something that they respect because that does what? That protects their head from any head injuries, any, thing might fall. Hard hats are very important in a construction environment. And so their talking piece was the hard hat. So we know we say use things that are soft, but sometimes soft things aren't a part of your community or have meaning. So I thought that was really cute that they used the hard hat to pass around when they discuss their issues. The final component for the circle process are sharing the guidelines of the circle, the shared agreement that the circle comes up with. And you and your group can come up with different norms or different guidelines, but here are a few that are pretty consistent with restorative practices. And so I'm going to share those with you, and you can have your own norms or you can use those that are pretty consistent. I'll also have a picture that'll pop up to kind of show you just these shared guidelines that have been created around the globe, I guess, and put together by a group. So the first one is to respect the talking piece. The talking piece is very important, and so the group must respect the talking piece. The other one is to speak from the heart. Speak from the heart. Anything that someone shares is their personal experience. That's their perspective. That's how they feel. And so we want to make sure that when you are a part of the circle that you're actually speaking from the heart. The second one is listen from the heart. Let go of stories that are hard to hear one another. Make sure that when you are listening that you're being open and non-judgmental and respecting whatever the person is talking about. So make sure that we are actively listening and listening from our heart. The next one is what happens in the circle stays in the circle. What happens in the circle stays in the circle. We know that in everything that we do, confidentiality is a very, very huge piece. And it's hard to trust people. And when you join a community circle, you're going to have to trust that everything that's said in the circle is staying in the circle. And hopefully everyone is sharing and speaking from the heart and respecting each other, and that what we say will stay in the circle. That is very important, confidentiality. Especially with teachers, like depending on what our circle is about and what we're discussing, we know we have to follow FERPA laws. So what happens in the circle stays in the circle. The next one is trust you will know what to say. You have to trust what you know you have to say. Don't rehearse everything, which kind of falls in line with the previous step with speaking from the heart. You can't rehearse. You just have to trust that when the circle happens, that it will be genuine and it'll be authentic, and just trust that you'll know what you'll have to say. And the last one is say just enough. Be considerate of everybody in a circle. Be considerate of everybody's time when sharing. Don't hog the talking piece and talk for 50 minutes. Like, you have to, be able to say just enough and then pass it along. And so those are just a few of the guidelines and norms. And so if I kind of go through all 5 of our components of a circle, we have make sure you're sitting in a circle. What's the second one? Hopefully you said the circle keeper. The next component that we talked about was the talking piece. The 4th component was the centerpiece. And the last one was sharing the circle guidelines or our shared agreements. And so those are the components and the norms of running a circle.